I'm Bob Renjilian. I'm the minister since 2020. My pronouns are he, him. I'm so glad that you are with us, whether you're here for the first time or returning after a long time away or been here all the time. When I mean all the time, we have some volunteers who are here all the time. And we appreciate you, among others, yeah. I have a few announcements to get us started before we get into the service. Halloween Fest was yesterday, and we were doing really well with people coming by our booth until the downpour. And then it kind of tapered out. We launched the e-bike raffle, and you see it's now going in the lobby, and also for the dinner for two anywhere in the world. We told people, yeah, you buy a ticket, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance for dinner for two anywhere in the world, you name it. Somebody said Antarctica. I said, do you know of a restaurant in Antarctica? Do you know of an airline that goes to Antarctica? But now that that raffle is open, I hope you'll have interest in it as well, and maybe think of people that you want to encourage to be part of that. We have, we also handed out a lot of the UUTC family ministry cards to families who came by. The kids got candy, and we'd hand out the family ministry cards, and I found out Jovi is really good at handing out family ministry cards, besides working in the nursery and making coffee and everything else. So, yeah. Really good at that. Super Sunday is today, so immediately after the service, we invite you for coffee and conversation, but also for soup today. I saw somebody carrying in some soup, so I know we have at least one soup to eat today, and I hope we have 4. Judith says 4 soups today, so I hope you'll join us for that. Let's see, Wonderful Wednesday team wants me to say that November 13th we have the performance of the Kevin Sanders Duo, and you can sign up on the counter in the lobby or through Realm or call into the office. We'll find a way to get you signed up for that. We only need the sign-ups for the count for the dinner at 5:30. The duo and the music is open to anyone who arrives at 6:30. Early voting is going on. I was going to wear my early voting sticker that I got. I told myself that I would wear it until the glue ran off. I would just keep transferring it to a new thing, and sorry, by Sunday, it didn't have any glue left. But for those of you who may be saying, oh, well, I don't know if my registration address is up to date or whatever else, the early voting period in North Carolina allows you to straighten all that out when you go in. As of Thursday, there were about 2 million North Carolinians, I think, who had voted early, and that's going to make the lines much better on Election Day. And what if a storm hits Election Day? What are you going to do? Vote early, folks. Get over there. The staff is off tomorrow because we were working all day yesterday, and we have some other things that we've been doing extra. So we have declared tomorrow is our day off since we didn't get a day off. And just wanted to let you know, anything you need to do, check with us today while we're around. If there's a pastoral emergency, absolutely reach out to me. I am still contactable. I just won't be around the office. I have been asked that immediately after the service you clear the sanctuary as soon as possible. I know you like to linger after the postlude and chat with each other, and that's lovely, but we have our new member class today, and I think we have maybe a dozen people, and we want to set up a nice circle, and we want to get our tripod and all our materials set up. So if you'll give us the room to do that, that'll be helpful. Thank you so much. It's nice. It's nice to have people interested in it. I truly appreciate that. Those were the announcements that I felt I needed to reinforce today, but there's so many more. If you're not on our mailing list, please sign up for it. You'll learn every week on Fridays what's going on, and you'll also get our monthly newsletter. Thank you. At this point, as we enter in our worship time, would you turn to one another and recognize the worth and dignity of each person around you?
Good morning. My name's Ian Cowie. I'm the worship assistant this morning. I'm glad that you're all here. Let's begin our service by lighting the chalice. Reverend Bob, could you help?
Of course.
These words come from Frances Cogier, an active Canadian living in Kingston, Ontario. She is a young disabled retiree, a social justice advocate, a 2024 UU Climate Justice Revival Sermon Award winner, and a published author. We light this chalice today as a people to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught, and glowing steady with the humility of learning. May it reunite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path, becoming a beloved community.
Did you get that? We'll have Ian help with the candles of joys and sorrows. I see we have a couple of notes here, and I also had some written down from what I learned during the week. Let's start with a candle of healing for Alice, who is returning home after being with her brother following her recent surgery. And a candle for Erin Lausch, who had throat surgery this past week and hoping for a speedy recovery. We did see her at the Halloween Fest yesterday. A candle for Carla Marr, who's at Mission Hospital. She's had blood clots that have been removed from the brain, and she is doing well. Thank you, Jane Hilliard, for passing on that new information. Let's light a candle for things not shared by notes and sent out to us, and perhaps by those who are online, who are unable to communicate with us in real time, their pastoral concerns. The joys and the sorrows of this community shared in this time, in this space, are part of what helps us weave the fabric of community. Thank you all.
Bob, you might want to turn down that flame a little.
Could you give me that lighter thingy?
The lighter thingy. Which one do you
This
want?
one. I just want something metal. I'm not going to touch it with my hand.
But you're a minister. There we are. Thank you. Wow.
The many skills not taught in theological school. Yeah.
Let's continue our service. Opening words by Reverend Jessica Rodell. Jessica Rodell is the minister of the Grand River Unitarian Congregation in Kitchener, Ontario. Her work is titled Listen. Listen. Listen to the silence. Listen to the wind. Listen to the stars. Hear trees. Dance. Dance to the beat of your neighbor's heart. Dance to the rhythm of your childhood dreams. Sing, sing and hum a wordless song to the tune of your rushing blood, and pray. Pray with a fever that makes you sweat through February snow. Pray with a fever that gives you chills in July. Shout your prayer like a howl. Howl till the sound of your soul touches clouds and haunts the moon. Come, let us howl in our hallelujahs. Let us pray and sing and celebrate. Come, let us worship together. Our opening hymn is hymn number 16. 'Tis a gift to be simple. Please rise if you are able. We will sing it twice. Thank you. Next, Wisdom of All Ages, and we have a special guest, Superman. Kevin.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin, and I get to work with the kids here. And actually, the cape and whatever is actually not part of the story today. It's just that kids were invited to dress up, so I did too. Well, this month we are talking about deep listening. And so our story today is called The 18th Camel. And it's taken from Wisdom from Books, which is a blog post. Well, once upon a time in a land far, far away, there was a parent who in the will said that my kids will divide up the camels that I have. The problem was there were 3 kids and 17 camels. And the first kid was granted half of the camels. The second kid was granted a third of the camels. And the final kid was granted a sixth of the camels. And I got that wrong. The final kid was granted 1/9 of the camels. Not very fair to divide them up that way, but that's what the will said. So immediately, all the kids started arguing about who was going to get what and how do you divide up, because you can't divide 17 camels in half or by a third or by a 9th. Otherwise, you start having to cut camels in half, and nobody likes that, especially the camel. So they argued and fought back and forth about what to do about it, and they finally decided they were going to go see a great wise woman. So they went to the wise woman, and she sat and she listened to them. She listened to each one of them in turn. She listened deeply, and she thought about it for a while and said, "This is what we'll do. I'm going to go get one more camel, lead it back, and I'm going to add this one more camel to the ones that you have. Obviously, this was a place that had a lot of camels. Well, the boys started arguing even more about it because they couldn't decide what to do, who would get the extra camel. And they argued back and forth, and finally she settled it down and said, okay, let's look at it this way. We now have 18 camels, and half of 18 is 9. And then also we're dividing the camels by a third, and so the third of 18 is 6. And then of the 18 camels, a ninth of it is 2. But you add those up, and you get 9 plus 6 plus 2 is equal to 17 camels. And the boys were a little puzzled by this, and she said, you see, the extra camel wasn't really about getting it right for all of you. The extra camel is what's called common ground. What you need to do is when you have a situation or an argument or someone you can't relate to somebody or agree with them, try and find what the common ground is. Try and find what will try and pacify the situation and get to what's really at the heart of it, which is everybody being treated fairly in this. And so the wise woman said, I'm going to take my one camel back now, but what you need to do is when you have a disagreement with somebody, the first step is to see if you can listen deeply to them. Even if it's an opinion you don't like or a stance that is troubling to you, listen deeply. And then the second thing you do is see if there can be a common ground that can be found so that we can all meet there to work out what our struggle is. So with that, I'm going to light our chalice candle, which I left over there, and then we're going to sing the kids out.
We do not deal in camels, in our wills, in our giving, in our way of knowing our own wealth and ability to make it through life. We deal with money. We deal with credit cards, Venmo, Apple Pay, all the various ways in which people could help us at the booth yesterday, all the ways that it helps here. Most of the folks in this room are already having, like my wife and I, our amounts withdrawn from our bank account. But when Sunday morning comes along, maybe there's a little extra you want to pull out of your pocket and put into the basket. This month, this is the last day to give to Pisgah Legal Services. If you want to give directly to Pisgah Legal Services, put it in the envelope. If you're giving to the general good of this congregation and its presence in this community, please place it in the basket. We will now gratefully receive the morning offering. What is given in love we receive with great joy. Thank you. Please center yourselves, prepare yourself for this time of meditation. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here on this day, remember that our hearts are interlinked with one another. We are not alone. We are not isolated. No more than we can be isolated from you, Spirit of love and life. Our hearts go out to those who are still out of their homes, still recovering from the great storms, still wondering about jobs restarting, about appointments restarting, about a sense of normalcy returning. We rejoice with those who have been able to reach out to show from their heart how we as a community pull together. Oh, Spirit of love and life, if anything out of this hurricane is good, it is the remembrance of how we become compassionate human beings with one another. We also reach out with our hearts and thinking with our minds and praying for Alice, who's had surgery, for Carla Marr, who's hospitalized once again, for Erin Lausch after her surgery, and knowing that there are others whose names we may not have mentioned in this prayer, but who are on the tips of our tongues and are in our warm embrace. May we remember as well, O Spirit of love and life, to listen to one another, to wag more and bark less, as the bumper stickers remind us, to be curious when confronted with challenges and people who do not seem to think like us, to remember that diversity is something that is a part of creation and all that helps us evolve and survive in the world. For Spirit of love and life, we need to listen deeply inside ourselves and less to the din around us, to remember to walk gently on this earth and to be a friend to others. These and the prayers of our hearts we hold now in the silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. Blessed be. thanks to Janice and Carlene and Elaine. Beautiful music, and thank you for the selection of those images to go along with it. The reading that I've chosen is from Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman was born in 1899 and lived to 1981. He was an influential African-American author, philosopher, theologian, educator, and civil rights leader. He was dean of the chapel at Howard University and Boston University for more than 2 decades, wrote 21 books. In 1944, he helped found a multicultural church, and Thurman, along with Mordecai Johnson and Vernon Johns, is considered one of the 3 greatest African-American preachers in the early 20th century. What I'm reading to you today is some excerpts from Howard Thurman's 1980 commencement address at Spelman College, historically African-American college. This would have been the year before he died. And there are recordings of this available online, should you wish to hear his own voice. There's something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is for which you are searching. And if you hear it and then do not follow it, it was better that you had never been born. You are the only you that has ever lived. Your idiom is the only idiom of its kind in all existence. And if you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, you will all your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. The sound of the genuine is flowing through you. Don't be deceived and thrown off by all the noises that are a part of even your dreams, your ambitions, so that you don't hear the sound of the genuine in you, because that is the only true guide that you will ever have. And if you don't have that, you don't have a thing. I must wait and listen for the sound of the genuine in you. I must wait, for if I cannot hear it, then in my scheme of things, you are not even present. And everybody wants to feel that everybody else knows that she is there. There's something in you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in other people. And if you can't hear it, then you are reduced by that much. I want to feel that I am thoroughly and completely understood, so that now and then I can take my guard down and look out around me and not feel that I will be destroyed with my defenses down. I want to feel completely vulnerable, completely naked, completely exposed, and absolutely secure. So, as I live my life then, this is what I'm trying to fulfill. It doesn't matter whether I become a doctor, a lawyer, a housewife. I'm secure because I hear the sound of the genuine in myself. And having learned to listen to that, I can become quiet enough, still enough, to hear the sound in the genuine in you. Now, if I hear the sound of the genuine in me, and if you hear the sound of the genuine in you, it is possible for me to go down in me and come up in you. So that when I look at myself through your eyes, having made that pilgrimage, I see in me what you see in me, and the wall that separates and divides will disappear, and we will become one, because the sound of the genuine makes the same music. Deep listening, the final week of deep listening here. I wanted to bring forth the Howard Thurman idea. For those of you who are on the UUTC retreat at the mountain a couple of weekends ago, you know that I used an abbreviated quote from Howard Thurman more than once, and how shocking it was to hear the words, especially at the beginning, of if you don't listen to yourself, you might as well not have lived. You might as well not be, because people are just going to be pulling your strings. It's a paraphrase. It's much more powerful the way he preaches it. It was a deep lesson that I wanted to reinforce on the retreat. Why go away to a place of beautiful, natural wonder, to be with friends, to let your guard down, to know one another if you cannot hear yourself, if you will not listen and will not obey what you hear as that? Howard Thurman had a story. It would have made a great words of wisdom, but I really liked Kevin's story. I like Kevin's story of the camels because I think we're living in a society of camel owners right now. My inheritance, I must have my inheritance. Crying out, possibly out of grief, competing with one another, people who should be siblings, loving one another and figuring it out, instead needing to go to someone of wisdom who says, I tell you what, I'll throw in a camel and we'll make it work. And then I get my camel back in the end because you guys really don't have any math skills. I have a feeling most everything that we are fighting over has to do with math skills and inheritance as human beings. And yet Howard Thurman is saying, wait, there's a story. I want to tell you a story of a kitten that I know. It's like, what? In the middle of his sermon, he's talking about this kitten. I don't know this story. I don't know where it came from, if Howard Thurman made it up or if it was handed down by oral tradition. Anybody hear the story of the kitten with blue hair and pink ears? Apparently, no cat mother wants a kitten with blue and pink fur. And the mother kept checking to make sure there was at least some black fur in this kitten. Because apparently, according to this story, such a kitten would wander and find the river and listen to the river's song, and then know from the river's song who it was, and would know that it had to find its real home. It would leave its mother and find its real home after hearing the song of the river. Now, there was a choice that I was given for today's service of a music video with a river, but I didn't want you looking at pictures of rivers this close, just a month out, okay? So we didn't do it, but this kitten story, the kitten listened to the song of the river, heard the song, took the song in, and then went wandering until it found a home where it could sing the song of the river. And the person in that home recognized the song of the river and responded and said, of course, this is true. This is real. It happened to be a pewter maker. The pewter maker had once known and worked out of that sense of self and knowing, and had created crafts and signed with pride artistically the name, so that each item that was sent out was a piece of saying, I know my song, and here it is reflected in my craft. And then started mass producing and never put names on anything and had forgotten the song of the river until the kitten had come and sung it again and awakened in that pewter maker that being in touch. Ralph Waldo Emerson, when I was a kid, I remember reading about the iron string. Trust thyself, every heart vibrates to that iron string. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Someone should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across their mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. In every work of genius, we recognize our own rejected thoughts. They come back to us with a certain alienated majesty. The power which resides in that person is new in nature, and none but that person knows what that is which that person can do. And that person doesn't know it till they've tried. When I hear that, and I hear Howard Thurman, I link the two together. Trust that iron string and listen within. To know truly your own song, to have the river teach it to you, in whatever way, is a part of deep listening. For Howard Thurman then to take it a step further, which is better than the individualist Emerson was. You know, Emerson was a Unitarian minister, kind of inherited the business. His father had been too. And it's said, at least in theological school, to paraphrase, that Emerson liked ministry except for the fact of dealing with people. So he went off on the lecture circuit instead, and was a very successful lecturer. Thurman was always immersed with people. Thurman was immersed with people when he was on the college campuses. Thurman was immersed with people in the civil rights movement. So for Thurman, to trust and listen to what was within, and not to have others pulling at you, making you their puppet, was important as an individual. But then he said the most interesting piece. If I go down in myself, and you go down in yourself, I can come up within you, and then I can see who I am through your eyes. I put something of that, or tried to, in articulating my prayer this morning. I cannot drive home without seeing political signs for people who I would not vote for. But the people whose lawns are adorned by those signs would probably say the same of any sign I would put on my lawn if my homeowners association allowed it. The reality is, if I know who I am, I might be able to go and meet another person who knows who they are. And we might, in fact, by listening to ourselves first and being secure in our own selves first, might be able to be brave enough and vulnerable enough and let our guard down enough to recognize how someone else sees the world. We're going to have a series of noontime prayer services in Brevard. The Monday of election week, Tuesday, election day, the Wednesday, the day after. UUTC is hosting the day after. St. Philip's, and I think either the Methodists or the Lutherans are doing Monday, and the Catholics are doing an evening mass, and there's going to be a whole lot of praying that week. A whole lot of praying that week. But among the prayers that I know I will be praying, it will be, may I know myself well enough that I can listen to others who know themselves. For in the civil rights movement, in spirituality, in our current politics and aftermath of politics, there is no other way I can think of for us to truly live genuinely, wholly, in holy ways with one another. Thank you for listening. Our final hymn is number 90 in the Gray Hymn Book, From All the Fret and Fever of the Day. Please rise if you're able and join in. Our closing words are the words of Leslie Takahashi, my colleague. Walk the maze. Within your heart, guide your steps into its questioning curves. This labyrinth is a puzzle leading you deeper into your own truths. Listen to the twists and turns. Listen in the openness within all searching. Listen. A wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and in that dialogue lies peace. Go forth with the love you have found in this place and bring the truest of yourself into this world, for no one else can. And then return again in joy and love. Blessings on all.